Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. I know it's been a long time since I did an IGTV here, but I just finished filming for my recording a new module for my Hormone Harmony course, and I wanted to talk about the importance of stress and hormones because I know this is something that is so overlooked, but it's the most common cause I see of hormone imbalances and difficulty conceiving. So I want to go over a few different things, and I'm just going to refer to my notes here, as always. I love notes. So the biggest thing is a lot of people talk about adrenal fatigue, but adrenal fatigue is not actually a thing. It's not the proper term. It's a bit of a misnomer because what's happening is your adrenal glands are not getting fatigued. It's called the HPA axis, and it's a signal from your brain to your adrenal glands that tells your body to produce stress hormones. And what happens if you have a lot of chronic stress, cortisol always spiking all of the time because you're busy doing this, busy doing that, eventually your brain says to your adrenal glands, whoa, we cannot be making this much cortisol, and it down-regulates the amount of cortisol you're producing, and that can leave you feeling more low motivation, low energy, really depleted, tired but wired. So that's kind of burnout. If you're just chronically stressed and your cortisol levels are high, that's when you're going to be feeling a lot more anxious, insomnia, always on the go, just feeling like you have too much going on. So that's kind of how to tell if you're more stressed out or burnt out. Now, why is this important for hormones? Well, it's because the cortisol adrenal system really affects your ovaries' production of hormones, specifically progesterone. So it changes the way that the enzymes kind of work. So basically what happens if you have too much cortisol or too much stress, your body's focused on producing a lot of cortisol, and it kind of shifts the enzymes so they're producing less progesterone. And progesterone is what we need to maintain a pregnancy, to balance PMS, to balance anxiety, to decrease inflammation. Progesterone is so key for so many things. So let's go through. I just want to see if there's anything else specifically. Oh, the other thing that I want to say is, excuse me, cortisol helps balance inflammation. So if your inflammation is high, there's a few different reasons why this is important. So number one, cortisol helps regulate inflammation. If you are burnt out, your cortisol levels are probably a little bit lower than where they need to be. That's not always the case, but oftentimes that's what happens. And then you're not regulating inflammation. If your cortisol is way too high, again, your body is just having a hard time regulating that inflammation. We know that most of our chronic diseases are linked to chronic inflammation. So you want to really help balance cortisol to decrease inflammation, to reduce your risk of chronic disease. The other thing is, and this is more of like a fancy thing, but cortisol helps, if you have more inflammation, you're going to age a lot more quickly. So if you want to have beautiful glowing skin all the time, decrease your amount of stress. And then lastly, if your body's inflamed, that's another, it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. Cortisol helps regulate inflammation. So if you're high stress, your body's going to be inflamed. And then if your body's inflamed, that's going to cause more cortisol. But either way, if you have a lot of inflammation, your body's going to say, we cannot get pregnant right now. There's some sort of crisis happening, and this is just not a safe time to get pregnant. So these are all different things to think about. Okay, so now what should you do about cortisol? So there's a couple things. So the way that your cortisol levels should look is you should get a spike in the morning that gives you lots of energy, gets you out of bed, gets you feeling motivated, and then it slowly goes down in the afternoon. So if your cortisol is dropping too much in the afternoon, you're gonna just feel like super low energy. The other thing that can drop that in the afternoon, the energy, is not getting enough protein at lunch. So those are the two things to think about. And then cortisol should drop before bed, giving you nice sleep. You should be able to fall asleep within 15 minutes, stay asleep and have an awesome sleep and wake up feeling rested. Some things that I see very commonly is people will feel exhausted throughout the day, and then they feel super high energy before they go to bed. And that is because the cortisol is spiking before bed. The cortisol pattern has shifted. You're getting a spike before bed instead of in the morning. So usually they have too much energy before bed, can't get to sleep, and then are exhausted, can't get up in the morning. The other common pattern I see is getting up around the same time in the middle of the night. So between 2 and 4 is pretty typical. And again, that's because the cortisol curve has shifted and you're getting that spike around 2 to 4 in the morning instead of in like when you want to get up. So a couple ways to deal with this. Number one is doing more relaxing, calming things before bed. Our bodies love routine. So do the same, try not to watch TV an hour before bed. or even half an hour. Try to do things that are calming. So dim the lights, light a candle, just try and make a routine out of bed. And make sure you have really good blackout blinds so you're not getting woken up in the middle of the night. And I also recommend a lot of times sleeping with earplugs. If you feel like you're a light sleeper and have a hard time really getting to that deep sleep, earplugs can help. The things that help increase, the other thing I should say is not doing any vigorous exercise before bed. If you're exercising a lot before bed, that is stimulating cortisol, which you don't want. So if you're one of those people that exercises, does spin classes at like 8 or 9 p.m., then has a hard time getting to bed, that's because you're stimulating the cortisol at the time when it's not supposed to be stimulated. How to increase cortisol in the morning, or actually, there's one last thing I want to say. The other thing that I love using to help bring cortisol down at night is magnesium. Magnesium calms the nervous system, helps with sleep, and it helps just balance that cortisol before bed. To help increase cortisol in the morning, number one is you want to expose yourself to bright light when you first get up. So open the window, get that sunlight. If it's wintertime, get a sad lamp, get that on your face for at least 10 minutes. You want to expose, basically light is a signal from your brain to make cortisol in the morning. The other thing that helps increase cortisol in the morning is doing movement when you first get up. So even just like doing some jumping jacks when you first get out of bed, or scheduling your high intensity exercise for in the morning. These are the type of lifestyle habits that you want to have to increase your cortisol in the morning. So by just doing these quick lifestyle changes, you can help reset your cortisol curve to increase cortisol in the morning, decrease cortisol at night. The other thing that I love to use are herbs that help balance cortisol, like adrenal herbs in the morning. Again, to help give you energy, get you out of bed, and then, like I said, magnesium at night. So I hope this was helpful. Stress is so key to balance hormones. If you have any questions, or if you want to tell me what you do to balance your hormones or balance your stress below, let me know. Talk to you soon.